evening. It's Monday, July the 15th. We're in the governor's room of the community center, and this is the regular board meeting for the St. Peter School District 508. And I'd like to call the meeting to order. Would you please stand and join me with the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have before us an agenda. A motion to approve would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And the agenda is adopted. Any member of our audience that wishes to speak to an agenda item, there is a card in the back you can fill out, and if you bring that card forward to Sarah, when we get to that agenda item, we would allot you time and opportunity to speak to that agenda item.
You have enough cards back there.
The next item we have tonight is our consent agenda, and as our habit, we will read through that, and if any individual item needs to be dealt with, we can do that. We are approving tonight revised May 20, 2019 meeting minutes regarding kindergarten breakfast prices for 2019-2020. Minutes reflect kindergartner breakfast prices at $1.05. This amount should state free, so there's no charge for kindergartner breakfast. Approval of the regular board meeting minutes for June 17, 2019. We are approving bills of $1,478,660.52 and wire transfers of $4,134,481.35 for June of 2019. We have a number of personnel items. They include the acceptance of the resignation of a Youth Development and Enrichment Coordinator at St. Peter Community and Family Education, effective June 14, 2019. We are accepting the resignation of an art teacher at St. Peter Middle School, effective June 26, 2019. We are approving the hiring of a school-age care assistant for the summer and the 2019-20 school year. This is a replacement position. Excuse me. We are approving the hiring of a 1.0 FTE second grade teacher at North Elementary for the 2019-20 school year. This is a replacement position. We are approving the hiring of a 1.0 FTE art teacher at St. Peter Middle School for the 2019-20 school year. This is a replacement position. We are approving the hiring of a health assistant paraprofessional at North Elementary for the 2019-20 school year. This is also a replacement position. We are approving the hiring of an office support person at North Elementary for the 2019-20 school year. This is Sarah's replacement, I think. No, it's not. But this is a replacement position. We are approving the hiring of a paraprofessional educator at Hoffman Learning Center for the 2019-20 school year. This is a replacement position. We're approving the hiring of the principal's secretary at South Elementary for the 2019-20 school year. This is a replacement position for Ms. Sarah. We are approving the acceptance of an activities administrative assistant at St. Peter High School, effective June 27th, 2019. We are approving of a maternity leave for a teacher at North Elementary beginning August 19, 2019 to September 23rd, 2019. We are accepting the resignation of a Title I paraprofessional at South Elementary, effective July 10, 2019. We are accepting the resignation of a registered nurse at South Elementary and North Elementary, effective July 10, 2019. We are approving the hiring of a district-wide school nurse for the 2019-20 school year. This is a replacement position. We are approving the hiring of a 1.0 FTE special education teacher at Hoffman Learning Center for the 2019-20 school year. This is a replacement position. We are approving the hiring of a .33 FTE science teacher at St. Peter Middle School for the 2019-20 school year. This is a replacement position. And I believe that is the last one. So a motion to approve the consent agenda would be in order if we don't have any individual item to deal with.
Move to approve our consent agenda?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve our consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And the consent agenda is approved. We have 8 action items tonight. We don't have a student section, obviously. Kids aren't in school. And as we go through the meeting, you'll see that our principals are not here with us this evening either, because we are in our vaunted summer session, and so they are off for the evening. A number of these action items we have tonight are routine. They occur almost every July, and so we will be kind of moving through them briskly, I think. The first is to consider the approval of membership in the Minnesota School Boards Association for 2019 and 20. Dr. Peters or Dr. Olson?
The Minnesota School Boards Association provides service to, I believe, every school board and school district in the state of Minnesota. Policy referral, legal advice, in-service training for board members, financial services, lobbying for member districts, a variety of things. So it's a good bang for the buck, and I would recommend your approval.
Anyone have any comments or things to add?
I'll move approval of the MSBA dues for 2019-2020.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. The dues amount to $7,509 for our annual membership. Any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries, and our membership is approved. Next item we have tonight is to consider the approval of assurance of compliance with state and federal laws prohibiting discrimination. Dr. Olson?
Again, this is an annual assurance that you certify that all of these federal laws are in compliance as far as the school district is concerned, but it's things like your civil rights compliance, Title IX, Americans with disabilities, age discrimination, and the like. And again, this is something that occurs on an annual basis. Once you have approved the assurance of compliance, we'll send that in. It needs to be sent in by November 15th. So I would recommend your approval.
I move the approval of the assurance of compliance with state and federal laws prohibiting discrimination.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further comment or dialogue here? I think Dr. Olson did a nice job just highlighting a few of the items. As I recall, there are some 14 components to this or more that are included in this document. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And the motion carries. We are approved. Next, we have the approval of our 10-year long-term facilities maintenance revenue plan. This, you would think you would do only once every 10 years, but instead you do it every year until, I don't know, forever, because you just add 1 year to the lot from where you were before. Mr. Tim?
Like I said, it is an annual thing now. It's probably been the last 3 or 4 years since the legislature passed the long-term facilities maintenance program, which has really been a good program for all the schools in the state. Basically, it's the facilities maintenance money that we get to do the upgrades, or not really the upgrades, just the maintenance of the school districts. In your packet, I believe there was 4 items. The first three of which we need to submit to the state by the end of July each year, along with the minutes of the meeting to show what the board has approved. The first form is basically just a statement of insurances, again, that basically we're complying with the policies. The second item is, there's a couple different components really to the program. Basically, one is your revenue stream, and the second is then your expenditures. The next 3 pages in your packet are basically the revenue that we will get through the program and a projection for the next 10 years. The main items that I guess basically concerned with on that is probably line 10, which shows the amount of revenue that we'll receive over the next 10 years projected. It's roughly $900,000, probably a little bit more, about 9.25 during the latter years of it. And the revenue is broken into levy and aid. One nice thing with this program is we probably receive a little over 50% of the revenue comes for aid from the state, which is a nice thing that doesn't go into local taxpayers' rolls. So basically, we're projecting 900 and some thousand in revenue over the next years, and that's basically figured at about $380 per student times your number of students. So that's how they come up with the revenue component of it. The next attachment then is kind of the expenditures and where we're projecting to spend it. It's a program where you can either spend ahead or save up the funds. And one thing it allows you to do is a bigger project like we did a roof project a couple years ago, and use this money and kind of pull it ahead a little bit. And if you can see in there, work with our building and grounds director, Mark Bachman, to get the expenses that we're going to project for the next 10 years. And there are all the different categories that are laid out, and they will change. You know, the first couple of years, close, obviously. The next couple of years, we know most of the projects, but the latter years, there will be projects added to it. You know, things come up, roofs, parking lots, you know, mechanical systems and things like that. But right now, this is kind of our best estimate. And these forms we send into the state. The last one I tried to put together is kind of a local form we use here. It's just an overview, I call it, of, because they never really put the revenue and the expenditures together on those forms there. And this form just basically shows where we're at and what's our negative or positive balance as we go forward through the 10 years. You can see in line 27, column E there, we did start this year with a negative balance, and the reason for that is we did do a roof project. And so last summer, and then we finished it the beginning of this fiscal year, so our balance will be negative for a few years going forward here until the revenue stream catches up with what we've spent. You know, I did do a lot of looks at other districts, and a lot of districts did do this the first couple of years of the program, it looked like, because there was apparently some pent-up need for the roof projects and the parking lot projects and those type of things. So, you know, we're not untypical on that, and there was some districts were considerably higher than us, and some had, you know, built up some funds, you know, to do the projects down the road. So basically, you know, we're going to get roughly $800,000-900,000 of revenue coming in over the period, and then we're projecting to spend it on the different projects. And like I said, we get out to year 6, 7, 8, we're showing a positive balance. It gets up, but there will be projects added to that as we go, and they're more identified. You know, over the last few years, you know, the bigger concerns has been the building of the school and things, obviously, and now we'll get back into the mode of, you know, the ongoing maintenance of the different buildings. So I guess we talked at length on this at the Finance Committee meeting last week. And I kind of went over quickly here, but it's kind of an annual thing here. It's a great program. It does allow you the fact to plan out instead of having, I know we've talked at length about our capital projects, you know, levy and that program here in the past, but you know, that one was a 10-year program that's expiring. This one, you know, you talk about it ongoing, that's really a good thing because it allows us to plan to do the roofs every X number of years, or the parking lots, or whatever comes up, the mechanical systems. So I guess you'll see this every July until it's changed, and we send it into the state and they approve it, and they haven't had any questions on anything we've done the last few years. So I guess I'm not anticipating any, we don't have any big changes in this plan over the other years. So I guess we brought forward that we'd recommend it be approved.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, two comments I want to make. One, I don't think you can understate the importance of this kind of a ongoing revenue stream for your capital projects. Districts, including the St. Peter District in the past, have found themselves in a really difficult situation when those big ticket items come up and you don't have a funding stream. So that was really one of the reasons for the capital projects levy that was passed in 2009 and now is expired because this program's in place. The second thing that I'll mention, and it's something that you may want to put on the kind of on the burner as far as your legislative platform that you move forward with. One of the pieces that doesn't make a lot of sense to me about this particular levy is that it's based on the age of
Right.
your school buildings.
Yep.
So if you drop below 35 years, right, Tim?
Yep.
Then you lose revenue. So because we added the new high school, we dropped below 35 years, but we still have exactly the same buildings we had before. So our
Plus the new one.
Plus the new one. So
Yeah.
our needs are actually more, but we get less revenue. So
Yeah.
we're going to catch up to that 35-year thing in a little bit here.
About 2
but-
years, yeah. We dropped
But it's
down
still, it's one of those things that I'm not sure that was really the intent of the legislation. But I can see if you dropped a building off, brought in a new building, or decommissioned a building, but that's one that's kind of perplexing. We'll want to keep our eye on it.
Yep.
The other thing I'll note is that the state of Minnesota, if you have greater than $400,000 worth of planned construction projects, you have the opportunity to elect to start school prior to Labor Day. And for those keen watchers out there of the program, we look like we can start school before Labor Day for at least 10 years. And I would expect that we might, from time to time, exercise that option, depending on when Labor Day normally falls on the calendar and the actual extent of some of these projects. And that is a reminder that this year, school starts August the 26th. Just because of that, because we do have projects in excess of 400,000 and are exercising that option. So that continues. Yeah.
Mark, I think starts August 26th for senior high school. And there are parent-teacher conferences in the K-8 building for the first
2 days, I think.
So the third day would be 28th for K-8.
Very good.
That's coming up fast.
It is coming
We
up
should
fast.
probably institute school bedtimes now. Right?
Yes. Not a bad idea.
So we have a motion to approve this would be in order.
I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the 10-year long-term facilities maintenance revenue plan. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And the motion carries, and the 10-year plan is approved. The next item we have is recycle. Each year at the organizational meeting, we designate the superintendent or designee as the identified position of authority for MDE access. With the departure of Dr. Peterson and the instatement of Dr. Olson, we need to renew that to give Jeff that authority. So what we have before us is the approval of his designation for that purpose. And motion would be in order.
Move Dr. Olson be identified as the person for authority of or MDE access, Minnesota Department of Education access.
Second.
And we have a second? Very good. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And the motion carries. And we are halfway through our action items. Next, we have the approval of the second and final reading of Chapter 2 of our policy book, the school board. Mr. Meeks?
Well, Mr. Chair, we could walk through all of those again, but I take it you've probably heard of one. So we did not receive any input other than a minor clarification on some editing, some punctuation marks, I believe it was. Sarah, you can help me if I'm wrong, but I know it was something in there. It was just very minor, it was just clarification. So with that, I move final reading and approval of Chapter 2 of the school board policy book.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And the policy is completed for this round on Chapter 2. Next item we have is consideration of the approval of principal's contract. Mr. Tim?
Yep. Mr. Chairman and members of the board, prior to Dr. Peterson leaving, he was able to negotiate a contract with the principals, as seen in your packet, one which I think we all on the negotiations committee agreed was a fair contract. I move that we accept the principal's contract for the next following 2 years.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion or comment? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And the contract is approved. Next item we have is to consider the approval of superintendent goals for 2019 and 20. These goals we have are very specific to Dr. Olson and what Dr. Olson's unique skill set and experience brings to us, and some of the impending challenges we have as a school board in the coming year. And we went through 2 study sessions, one in July one in June and one here in July, where we used a couple of different methods to bring forth some of those key components, and we have them for us this evening to officially approve. Dr. Olson, do you want to chat about that a little bit, or?
Well, I think that it really is in twofold. One would be some of the unique operational timelines that need to be followed this year with the replacement of a superintendent, a school board election, the beginning process for thinking about a renewal of an operating levy or a potential increase to that operating levy. And then in addition to that, there are the kinds of things that are more strategic in terms of the overall school district. So the idea of increasing and improving achievement for all students, the idea of a leadership development plan throughout the district, the idea of communications plan, school relations, as our term has been smoothing the waters. So I think it's a mix of both. I think they all make a lot of sense. I think they'll provide a good direction for me to carry out my duties for this year. So I appreciate your input in the process.
And it also provides great focus points for us as a board to continue to keep our eye on the ball, as it were, and keep the main things the main thing as we go through this transitional year. So a motion to approve would be in order.
Move to approve superintendent goals for 2019 and 2020.
Second.
And we have a second. Is there any further comment or dialogue from members tonight? We just got done beating this around pretty hard downstairs in a study session for an hour and a half before we came up here, so. Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And those goals have been approved. Next item we have is one of the first actions to come from those goals, actually. Dr. Olson, do you want to lead us through this one?
Well, Mr. Chair, members of the board, one of the things that I think we've discussed would being really important in terms of thinking about the operating levy renewal and potentially an increase to the operating levy is looking at what are the enrollment projections for the school district. We conducted a demographic study in 2005, and we conducted a demographic study in 2012. And generally what you'll hear from the demographers is their data is pretty good for 5 years. But at the end of 5 years, it's hard to know where those projections might lie. So it seems like it'd be a good idea to conduct a demographic study this fall. We talked about that at the study session. But in addition to that, to add a second component, and that's a housing and enrollment study. That's another feature that wasn't in place with our previous demographic studies. But what it does is it looks at, for a region like ours, the types and availability of housing and the types of housing that are most likely to attract families with school-age children. So just as an example, one of the things that we always thought and looked at before, and it's still there to some level, was we needed to have affordable and available housing in order to attract those families. So the school district and city partnered in the Nicollet Meadows development, worked together on the Washington Terrace development, have also added the Traverse Green development, all with an eye towards that. One of the things that was interesting in some initial discussions with Hazel Reinhardt of the Reinhardt Consulting Group was districts are now also looking at maybe the availability of different types of housing, some that's maybe more expensive, particularly as there's a change in the patterns of when young families or younger families are determining to have children, maybe being two-income families, maybe looking for a different level of housing. So I think that this data would be really, really important as you start looking at how do you increase and continue to move enrollment up in the school district. So the recommendation would be that we contract with Hazel Reinhardt Consulting Services for two things, the base demographic study and the housing enrollment study, at a total cost of, I believe, $8,800. I would recommend that to the board.
I think this is important. I'll move that we conduct a demographic study in the fall of 2019 with Hazel Reinhardt Consulting Services.
Second.
And we have a second. As Dr. Olson mentioned, we've done this a couple of other times, and it is uncanny how accurate the information has turned out to be in each of those, and it's very, very useful in helping the board look to the future and have some assurance of what enrollment will be. Enrollment is a huge driver on the revenue side of a school district, but enrollment also drives programs and programming and the need to adjust. Bob, I think you used the phrase earlier tonight of adapting to the changing world that we live in. And so having this, I guess third time makes it a trend, right? You get 3 points, you have a trend. I think this is a trend that the board should revisit every 7 years or so to stay on track with their ability to plan and be reasonably accurate and represent to the community what we think is going to happen and have numbers to back it up. So I think it's a good idea and happy to support it.
Absolutely. I would think that the city would be interested in this data as well, and this is our study, and we'll conduct it, but I'm sure we'll get together with city council and city leaders once we have the data to talk to them. I think we're really partners in this. Nobody's going to move here if we have a great school and no housing, and no one's going to move here if we have a school district that isn't performing as high as our area schools and plenty of housing. So we need housing, we need jobs, we need good schools,
Daycare?
Daycare. It seems like right now we have good schools and we have jobs. I look around. I don't know if we have enough housing, and I don't know if we have enough daycare. My kids are aged out of that, but I think that this is going to give us some good information to help us build for the future.
Yeah, and another partner as we share information, discuss things, might be also with, the Economic Development Authority and the Chamber of Commerce. I think are some other areas where we could share this data and gain some traction.
Absolutely.
We have a motion and a second? Yep. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And the motion carries. Look forward to meeting with her and learning these results. We'll probably have them before the end of the year, right?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, that gets us through our action items and into information. First thing we have tonight is the board study session review. Who wants to go?
I feel like our action items were a pretty good review of the study session. We talked about almost all of those things, but spent a long time on the superintendent goals for the upcoming year, and we talked about the demographic study quite a bit, and I think we touched on many of these. And Tim did a great presentation for the board on the budget. So.
Yeah, the only other thing I think would probably be worth mentioning is that we had started to have an initial discussion on kind of the what-ifs regarding an operating referendum. So if the existing operating referendum drops off, that number is about $450,000 in lost revenue for the school district. And for every $100 of additional operating referendum above our current level, that translates roughly into $250,000 of additional revenue. So just started to be thinking about what would be some of those points that we might be looking at. It's $182 that is in the existing operating levy. That last levy authority is the fall of '21 for the 22-23 fiscal year. So I think it's important that those discussions start, as we get some big picture ideas of what that all looks like, and continue that discussion on a regular basis.
Absolutely.
And that will be, the financial stabilization is one of the goals that we have charged Dr. Olson with in the coming year. And so as we stated, it would be a focus point for the board and for himself as we move through this. So you'll hear more and more about it as we come along. So next information item we have tonight is Director Carlson is here this evening. He's excused, as well as Director Hager, but I was going to be able to share with Director Carlson that I did complete the letter. The final piece of the Superintendent Dr. Peterson's evaluation, and it is part of the minutes for the evening. And as you might have guessed from the verbal components of our previous board meetings, Dr. Peterson ended the year as the professional that he is, with very high marks from all of the stakeholders in his system of evaluation. And we're very blessed and pleased to have had him with us for the last 5 years as superintendent, and prior to that in his role as the high school principal. He will be missed, but we wished him every bit of good luck in his new role. So that last component of his evaluation was completed, and it is part of the packet and available. Next, we have membership in the Minnesota State High School League. Dr. Olson?
One of the new requirements for membership in the Minnesota State High School League is that the school board in its entirety review a presentation from the school activities director that is tied in with the Minnesota State High School League, titled "Why They Play." So it's a presentation. I think Activities Director Jordan Paula and one or two coaches will be here at the August board meeting to share that information, to have you watch that. I believe it's a 7-minute video, and that's a new requirement before you can adopt a resolution for membership in the Minnesota State High School League. There's an article in your packet about the Why We Play program that's been developed by Jody Redmond of the Minnesota State High School League. So typically that membership resolution would be acted on in July, but this is a new requirement that's a part of that process, and so we'll cover that at the August board meeting.
All right. Brings us to our next agenda item, which is reports. And back over to you, Dr. Olson.
Two things I want to mention. One, I had the opportunity today to attend a session of the Innovate K-12 in the Twin Cities area with a team from St. Peter. I think it's the second year of the program, and it's very impressive. It really has to do with a lot of idea generation from the bottom up. And I'm very impressed with what I've seen. The St. Peter School District did receive an award from this group for the last school year, and that award had to do with having one of the highest numbers of participants in identifying ideas to improve the school district. This was specifically worked through the St. Peter High School and St. Peter Middle School this past year. So looking forward to seeing they're going to come back later this week with a new set of ideas and plans to move forward. So I think that's a good thing, and really one of the reasons why I think St. Peter continues to stay on the cutting edge in terms of thinking about how to educate kids most effectively. And happy to be a part of that. It was exhilarating and interesting, I would say. Secondly, I just want to mention that our kindergarten enrollment numbers are going up, which is a good thing. We're talking about enrollment. We're right now sitting at right around 147, 148 kindergarten numbers. One of the things that's different about kindergarten numbers as opposed to the other grades is that's a pretty hard number. That doesn't change much because those kids have all been through, many of them through kindergarten roundup, or their families that have come in and have committed to register for the fall. Typically, we see an increase from about the middle of July to the start of the school year of anywhere from 15 to 18 to 20 students with those numbers. So you're likely going to see a recommendation to add a section of kindergarten at the August board meeting to keep those numbers of kindergarten students, in that right around 20 or so range. Any questions about that from anybody?
Delighted. We're delighted to make those kind of adjustments.
And that's it for me.
Board members around the table?
Nothing for me?
No.
Just, Ben?
One thing, I just encourage if people are thinking about that you're watching these meetings, you think, man, these look like a lot of fun. And in all seriousness, really important work for the community and the district. If you're interested in running for school board, open filing dates for us are July 30th through August 13th, and that's in the district office. You can talk to Sarah. I think it costs $2 to file, and that's a state fee. That's not St. Peter's School District. But I would encourage people who are interested to think about that and really to let Dr. Olson know and sit down with him. He can really give you a good idea of what's involved and how much work that is and what a commitment looks like and what skills and dispositions are good to have. So
Absolutely.
Or any board member.
Yes.
Contact any board member.
that's, yep, obviously.
If you have an interest. It's an enriching experience. It really is. And it's one you get a lot of payback. You get a lot of payback.
Bob's
So-
at the courthouse a lot. You could just stop by and see him.
Yeah, that worked well.
All right. Upcoming meetings of the board, we have only one that is scheduled at this moment, and that is the regular board meeting, which is Monday, August the 19th. And we will be right here in the governor's room at that time. And if we have other meetings that come up, committee meetings or whatever, they'll be published in the normal formats that we typically use. And we'll get those out to the Herald and other places as well. So enjoy your summers. It is hard to believe, but it is July the 15th already. With that, our favorite agenda item is available to us. Motion to adjourn would be in order.
Move to adjourn?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
I was gonna wait till it stopped raining, but I
That's
don't know
what I
when
was
that's
trying to gauge here. I have my
Drew,
windows
you-
open a little bit. It's,
That was 40 minutes.
Yeah.